Everybody, welcome along to episode 51 of Percussion Discussion. Hope you're all well out there and enjoying our conversations. Please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, our YouTube channel. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing to our YouTube channel, this will ensure that you don't miss any of our forthcoming episodes. Of course, the ones that have already been. If you would prefer to hear our conversations on the go, then they are all available in podcast form. You can hear those on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. On to today's guest. I've had the pleasure of knowing this guy for a few years, and he really is an incredible drummer, musician, composer. He's been playing for Josh Groban for the last 3 years, touring the world. His skill level is just ridiculous. He's released 5 drumless albums, giving all the drummers out there a chance to try his incredible songs. Just a super talent, a lovely guy. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Kaz Rodriguez.
No worries, man. Thank you for having me, Matty.
It's a pleasure. It's good to see you. It's been a while. I think it was 2 years ago when you came up to do the clinic up in North Wales. So it was it's quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's
yeah.
Your little one's probably like my height now, isn't it?
Not quite. But do you know what? That's still one of my favourite photos. I don't know if you remember, but he was sat on the stage during the sound check, and he had his AC/DC t-shirt on, just looking up as you were chatting away. So I love that picture. It was a great clinic. It was a great night. It really was. It was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's
pleasure.
Yeah, it was really, really nice and fun. It was a fun night.
Yeah, people still talking about that one, and I think, unless I'm mistaken, that was right in the middle of the Josh Groban tour as well. It was in a little break just after Christmas, I think. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it was. It was a little break, and it was nice to just, free up a bit again.
Yeah.
So you play what I usually do because the tour is quite intense.
Yeah, because you and obviously you've gone from playing 15,000 seaters to 140 people in a hotel function room. It must be a weird thing that when you. Yeah.
I mean, it was for me. I've always kept this mentality when I'm if I'm playing in front of 20,000, 15,000, or even like 10 people, I always appreciate an audience. So it makes no difference. And actually, funny enough, it's more pressurizing playing in front of a smaller crowd.
Yeah. And all drummers as well, who are sitting there waiting to be blown away, They were, by the way. We were all
singles and paradiddles, mate. That's all I got. Singles and paradiddles. Don't know where the doubles go. That's what I got.
So we'll start with Josh, because obviously it's a major gig for you. But it must be quite a tricky thing because obviously your playing style, you wouldn't generally put your playing style and that gig together. It must feel like having your hands tied at some points, having to lay it down on 2 and 4.
Yeah. I mean, it's always a crazy one because, I originated from playing grooves, just like the backbeat 2 and 4 stuff, because, the thing with Josh was, he found me on social media.
Yeah.
And, he actually found me on Drumeo, and it was based on the fact that I could be technical, but I'm also a songwriter. So, the thing with being with Josh, it was kind of a godsend because it didn't feel like I had my hands, tied behind my back. It was more, I had to be more on top of things.
Yeah.
Because, playing grooves that, Steve Jordan's on the record, Steve, a really good friend, and he's just got he's Steve.
Yeah.
And the way that someone plays a groove is something that is really not just a challenge, but also it's inspiring. So I felt like Josh is so world eclectic. There's a lot of genres. I think so. What he was after was someone who can play genres of music, different genres, singer-songwriter songs. Then sometimes it goes into like a Latin thing, and then it goes into a odd time signature thing, which is surprising. There's a song called Alla Luce, and it's in like 5 and then 4, and then it's in 5,
right.
and then it's 5 again, and then 4, and then it goes into like 9, and you're like, what? But in general, it's a real challenge, and it is a really good gig to be on, because you get to play with not only just fantastic musicians and sharing the stage with Josh, but also being a family, and also to learn different styles and sorts of music. So, yeah, I think it was a fantastic way for me to also go into I would say more of a grown-up gig. I'm the young member of the band. I mean, Josh has turned 40 now, but I mean, like, everyone else is like over 50,
right? Turning
60 plus, and I'm like the young blood in the band. It's like the 33-year-old is like, you ain't seen nothing, kid. But it's a family, and I love them and adore them, and again, it's just going to be great going back on the road with them as well. Just to we all right now is J.R. Robinson has been covering for some of my shows.
Not a bad depth then, really, is he? Not
a bad depth, which is crazy, because I grew up listening to JR as well, but like JR's done a few TV runs for them, but I think it's nice to know that I'm coming back soon and getting everything back on the road. Josh and I always talk, and he's always like, can't wait for you to come back, and because we were mid-tour.
Yeah, of course.
Mid-tour during the pandemic. It was like, all right, let's go and do a show. And then all of a sudden, we were in Florida, in Jacksonville. Next day was the same day we got told we had to go back. And I was like, oh, we're only a week into our tour as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's sickening. So I guess you've had no word of when it might carry on at the moment then. Difficult to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll be back in August. So.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Right now it's all skeletal, we don't know when things will go back to normal, but next year our tours will continue officially. But this year is like very skeletal. It's just to get things sort of back in order.
Yeah.
And I'm the only guy in London, so I'm basically the only Brit. It's like Little Britain, we're the only that guy. I'm the only gay in the village. Except that I'm not gay, but it's I'm the only Brit in the whole point. So it's really cool to like being able to travel with those guys. But it's I do miss those guys, because we've become like a family. So when we're on stage, everyone appreciates everyone's playing. So
Sure.
If something's different,
Yeah. Oh, and what's it like touring on that scale? Because we're talking a huge scale thing here. This is not, it's not a minor thing, is it? It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, touring with Josh, it was even unreal for me, because, being here, I did so, and there was like they have a certain level. There's certain things you got to do yourself. You got to drive yourself to get somewhere.
Yeah.
You got to lug your own gear to get to a gig, and even if you're playing for a big pop artist, and but when you're playing with someone like Josh, everything's done for you. It's like I literally walked in. I was like, wow, do you need me to do anything? I was like, coming into production rehearsals with my first day of the job in 2018, and I was like, should I get, I was carrying the hardware for my tech. My tech was like, you're not supposed to do anything. Just sit.
Wow.
It's just like, wow, that's a bit crazy, man. And I was so grateful for it, but they treat you as artists. And I think that's one thing that I love about Josh's camp so much, because everyone in the band is an artist.
Yeah.
And we're not like session guys. So they treat us with the same amount of respect as Josh. And being on those sort of levels of tours is unreal, because you go on the tour bus, one day you're in American Airlines Arena, then the next day you're in the Staples Center, the next day you're playing Red Rocks, and then the next day you're doing Madison Square Gardens. Like, you wake up, in Madison Square Gardens, like in New York, and doing a DVD. It's like, what's going on? But
it's insane, isn't it? It really is that.
It is, and it's a great. Like I say, I never take it for granted. It's never. A lot of people change when things start to happen for you, and I've never felt any different. In what I do, I'm still the same Kaz when I was 10 years old. Like, a lot of people take that sort of level when you get to a standard in your artistry, you feel like something's owed to you, but really it isn't. I still am the same old simple Kaz who was born and raised in Ealing. It's like, I just love creating and being able to have great experiences, and these things are things that you can go with, you can leave with in the world, so, and I never take it for granted. So
that's good. Well, you certainly create. I know you're one of the most creative people I think I've ever met. You never stop, do you? You're always doing something.
Always. I think there is there's this thing with me. Like, obviously I have synesthesia, but which actually doesn't make me stop. It's just about how I see color and how I have to create. And I've just recently released my 5th album, and I think the time that I saw you was only my 4th album releasing, and that was Synesthesia, but this one's Motions, the new one. Actually, the artwork's just right there, the back.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
But yeah, so and it was great, like, doing that. During the pandemic, I've just been writing, recording, doing a lot of live streams, and doing the Drumeo stuff because I'm one of the Drumeo coaches. I'm really fortunate to do that and have been asked to do that. And there is a lot of exciting things that I've been able to do, even non-musical. Cooking, that's one thing. Baking, cooking. Like, you got time to do stuff now at home. So I definitely have learned how to be a cook. Just a different skill set, but also, like, because I love cooking and I always cook anyway, but to not be on the road and fly, and creating wise as well, it's like, I'm learning so much about cameras and videography and switches and how I'm broadcasting, because if this lockdown didn't happen, I wouldn't have been able to switch doing learning how to broadcast. I've got a really great studio desk that I work with Stephen Slate, and learning this stuff, it's like, the camera stuff, it's like it's amazing, because it's such a challenge that you can really stimulate your mind. And sometimes just stepping away from the drums is a godsend, and this is kind of my creative space to do what I like, and that's what keeps me going until things go back to normal. And I feel like that's a great mental stimulation.
I'm not trying to say that in no way that has the pandemic been a good thing, but from the point of view of people getting creative and learning new skills, it's been pretty incredible, hasn't it? Because time, we've all had time. That's the thing. We've
had a lot of time, and it's actually a real test as well, because a lot of people are so not into, they feel like there's one thing that you got to do in the music business, and really and truly there are so many spaces in the music business and in general in creating, and it's how much you're willing to learn. And learning is such it takes you back into when you were in high school, or whether you were in primary school or college or university, where you get told to do homework. It's like nobody likes doing homework.
No.
It's like sod it, off to the pub, off to the SU bar,
Yeah,
the student union bar. And for me, it was always like I was that guy, but now I learned the value of, learning and why we learn is because it helps you in the long run for your skill set. And I'm grateful for that because I got the balance of both worlds, being a composer and a drummer, but there's other things you do the norm all the time. You want something different in your brain to go, oh, that's something I could work on whilst this is happening. And I turn that negative of what's happening in the world to a positive.
Yeah.
And you get to be home. You get to be more home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so grateful to be home, to be able to spend time with family and your loved ones, and to just catch up with friends that you haven't been able to for like years.
Yeah, of course.
And like what we're doing now, like we've been trying to chase each other for probably near enough a year. and now we're here, and it's just like, and in my head I was like, I need to do it because I never forget about it. But it's when you do so many things, and like we're here now, it's like that's what counts, and it's nice. Like we exchanged great conversation a couple of years ago when I did the clinic, and I was like, and we even spoke about, I'll come again. I'd always come again, because I felt like anything to do with bringing a community of drummers and musicians together and to inspire, and actually to inspire each other. Yeah, it's just one big massive drum hang. It's
perfect, isn't it? And I have to say, going back to the technology, you always get a great drum sound on your broadcasts and stuff, the stuff you do live. And has that taken a lot of learning to get that? I appreciate, you've got the Stephen Slate desk and stuff, which we know is great, and great drums. And I know your microphones are a bit special as well.
It
all helps. But you can still mess it up with all that great gear. It can still sound crap, can't it?
100%. I mean, it's not really about the gear that you have. It's what you can do with it. It's like, I say it like this. You could have the world's best camera, and it may not come out the way you like it. Like right now, I'm using my camera to do the Zoom.
Sure.
But maybe 3-4 years ago, I wouldn't have known how to do this. But I learned the process, and then learned there's a switcher, and I learned how to get the sound coming out, and broadcasting, and why broadcasting it compresses, but what do I need to do EQ wise in order for it to come out really clear when it compresses? And when I do Zoom lessons, a lot of the students that I teach, they're always like, this sounds like a record. It's because I learned how to do it. It's not just the mics, it's the EQs, and like kind of ear, and it's not about the bells and whistles. It's I'm really grateful to have for me the best drums that work for me, and the cymbals and the choices that I use for heads and tuning, and it's more of a case of you can make right here I've got like a world's smallest kick drum. It's like a 14-inch cocktail kit on my right, and it's like you can make that sound great.
Sure.
It's just how you use your ears, and I think that's the special thing about learning how to do it. And especially whilst I was doing Drumeo, man, it's stuff that I didn't know that I could do that I learned, and I learned more on my own mixers, how things are supposed to be EQ'd and rooted, and now it's like second nature, because I guess it's like driving a car, right? You drive one car that you've driven for years, and you're like, I'm used to this. I'm used to this dodgy clutch that gotta change gears for, and my gear stick is like crazy stiff, and you can't change the gears. But then you go into a brand new car, and everything's all of a sudden smoother.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm still not used to it. And then eventually it's just second nature. You know, you start to learn everything. Turning a key on, it's the same thing with this stuff, broadcasting and mixing and all that. Yeah.
Because let's be honest, I mean, it opens doors, doesn't it, when you have the ability to do this? Because I'd imagine Drumeo, everybody knows that their audio and the visuals are amazing, and they wouldn't have you doing the remote stuff if your sound wasn't up to scratch, would they? It's as simple as that.
Oh, no. Exactly, yeah. And I think you know, Drumeo is such a great team because, you know, they helped. Like, there's a guy called Victor Guerrero. Like, Victor is the sound master.
Yeah.
And he has helped all of us on how to get the right sound. But some of us knew what we were doing. So, like, you know, Victor had the least trouble with, like, me, for example.
Yeah.
And because he's like, oh, yeah. And all I do is plug a 3.5 millimeter audio cable into the mixer, and it broadcasts my entire drum mix and everything. And everyone's like, "Oh, the drums sound great!" And I'm like,
"Not even a USB."
No, just a one cable.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's great, but you got to understand. And yeah, the audio comes from USB 3.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, little things like that. Like, rather than sending all your inputs into a mixer and then putting it into, like, there are simple ways of doing things. And if you understand your equipment, it's even better for you, because then you have the capability of doing things like Drumeo and doing your own drum clinics online, because a lot of things now are like live online concerts and live stream stuff, and even learning how to do a video. Like, all my Instagram stuff is literally the camera that I'm using now into QuickTime, and the audio is just the in-ear feed going straight into QuickTime.
Wow, okay.
So, and then everyone starts going, "Oh, the drums sound great. Oh, how does it sound like?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just a feed into QuickTime." And I press record, and then it saves everything, and then I can just choose what I want and post it if I wanted to, or it's just stuff that I can do for quicker workflow.
Yeah. So the drums and the visuals and the audios are already synced up at that point, so you don't have to match things up.
No.
Cool.
Because I got like an auto switcher here for my drums, and then literally I can change the angles change every however many seconds I set them.
Yeah,
they'll go like side, top, front, and then like close up wherever I clamp. You know, if I have a GoPro or film camera, and it just does it all in, you know, at its own pace. I just press a song and then just have fun with it and play.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
really cool.
It's a lot of homework, but it's definitely worth it. You know, to invest the time in this world, because as drummers, you know, having more skill sets actually helps you to have these opportunities, like teaching online and not being, you know, all this social distancing stuff. Like, I feel like as creatives, we've always been the people that adapt.
Yeah, sure.
Like, we don't go to a, you know, if you go into I remember when I was younger and I did function gigs, you know, and someone would say to me, you know, or you left a floor tom leg, you know, you left a floor tom leg at home, and you're like all the way up north, like you're out of town now, and you're at this wedding playing. What do you do? And you got to improvise. Yeah. So you get like, I don't know, a drumstick and put it. Yeah. You know, everyone's probably done it, but you have to adapt, and sometimes, you know, things don't work out to plan, and you adapt. You know, if there's a singer's not in the band, what do? You get someone else to sing. Yeah, it's like there's always a way of adapting in your lifestyle, and not for the bad, but just as a temporary solution.
I mean, and the thing is, you've got these skills forever now, and it's stuff that's only going to get better and easier, isn't it? You know, there's more, it's definitely, as more gear comes out and newer innovations, it's good to be on top of it, isn't it?
Yeah, gear's always a forever going on thing, and it's amazing to see such amazing drums being made. You know, I feel like there's a point now where every drum company makes drums that just they all sound great. Like, you know, and there's, you know, stuff that people are making bespoke. You know, like, you know, there's like some stuff like Z-Kit, you know, Z-Kit drums with the mechanism, and they sent me one on my Tama snare, and I'm, you know, filming content for them now, and it's an amazing thing. Like, you wouldn't have thought of it, but then you go, oh, it's great. Like, and technology is also adapting. Microphones are getting better, you know, and Earthworks always spoke to me only because of Drumeo. You know, I did Drumeo, and then we started using them, and then you saw the Zildjian live, and I was using them in there, and they're like, everything was like, Earthworks just work.
Yeah, I remember back in the clinic, the engineer that I used, who's a great engineer, by the way.
Oh yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah, and he was all set with his Audix, and he said, I'd rather use these, and that was the first time he'd come across Earthworks, and he was absolutely blown away, really blown away by the build quality and the sound of them, you know.
Yeah, and they work. They just don't need that much gain, and and the thing is as well, they come across well live and for recording.
Yeah,
and it was at that time I just got them, so I, you know, whilst I was mid tour, and then I just thought it'd be fun to try them. Then you guys were like, "Yeah, it sounds great." I'm like, "Oh, great."
It did sound really cool. It did, even from some of the basic recordings from the desk. It was like, wow, yeah, it's really, really, really great, you know. So, speaking of Zildjian live, that must have been amazing to do.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
that band. Wow.
Yeah, Ghost Note. Yeah, they're really great, and yeah, Sput. You know, he's amazing. I mean, Sput's a good friend, and such an inspiration. Like, the funny thing was, is like, you know, I think out of all the songs, I think I was the only one that wrote my own song.
Really?
Yeah. So I wrote it like half done because I was actually on the road with Josh.
Yeah.
And I was in Poland, and then Sput called me and said, Kaz, can you send me like one of your songs that we can just get something to rehearse? And I was like, sure. So I was like kind of writing a song to like on the spot. Just like whilst I was in Poland, and I said, hey, how about this? And I sent this, and he goes, perfect, cool. And then they made an arrangement, and it was amazing. And then like, you know, Spot added the horns and stuff.
Yeah.
And originally the whole song had no drum solo.
Right, okay.
It was just the song, and then Spot was like, this is a drum video, you need to do a solo, people need to see what you do. And I was like, I don't know. And then he's like, just stop being an idiot and do it. Like, just do it. So we made that little part at the end, and it was fun. Like, I was so overwhelmed because, you know, to be able to be been asked to do it, and it was, and also the studio is like iconic. It's you know, East West Studios. You know, you can get, you know, people from the Beatles, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra in that room. So the spirit of them were there, you know. And
was there a lot of rehearsal for that?
No.
Wasn't there? Wow, it sounded like there was, because it was really slick from everybody's performance band wise.
Yeah, I mean, we had to learn the stuff quick. I mean, the Zildjian live show, because I did a show the day before, and it was like with Jam Card, and it was one of it was like a tribute show for all my songs live.
Yeah,
all like some of the best musicians, and it was amazing. Like, we had like, so the keys player that was playing for the night before was Xavier, and Xavier was playing on the Ghost Note song as well.
Yeah.
and he plays for Toto.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and it's crazy. And then they had like Kendrick Lamar's guitarist, and then Snoop Dogg's bass player, but he plays fusion. And he's on my album. Roland Gahapte, I don't know if you know who Roland Gahapte is.
I do.
Yeah, Roland's a good friend, and he's an amazing percussionist. There were so many people, and then the drummers were just doing like duo stuff. So me and Aaron Spears, and then Matt Gasker and Luke Holland, and then there was Thaddeus Sticks, and then Elmo Lovano, like good friends, and then Devin Sticks Taylor and Rico Nichols, and we were all like they were just playing my songs live, and it felt like humbling. There was like a lot of people there, and it was just a nice night. But then the next day was that Zildjian live.
Yeah.
So Aaron and I were like really tired, but it was everyone came to the night before's show anyway. But
yeah, of course.
So tiring because people are like when you're in LA, everything's like let's do this while you're here, and I'm like I need to relax for a bit. But yeah, with the Zildjian live thing was only two. We only had like 2 run-throughs. So we had a rehearsal day, and we just ran the song once or twice.
Yeah.
And then the next day we just do 2 takes on it.
Because it's complicated stuff, and it's not a lot of time to get some of that stuff down, is it? Really.
Yeah. But you have to learn your parts. It's part of being the professional. It's like you got to learn the parts as if it is an actual show.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get, especially with Josh, we get like last minute calls or emails saying Josh wants to play this song, and we have never played it ever, and then we have to rehearse it the next day and sound check and make sure it's to its fullest standards for Josh to play.
Yeah, of course.
It's like he can do that, and that's because he's a boss, and we get paid to make sure we have his back. And it's the same thing when you doing your own stuff, and especially with like that Zildjian live thing. It's like it's your voice, so you know how to do it. So like with I know what parts I wrote, but I had never played drums to it, and because I was on Logic.
Yeah, of course.
On a mid-plane, singing stuff, and I was just like, I can picture the parts in my head.
Yeah.
And when you play it, you're like, okay, it's cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you must have when you're coming up with parts on a keyboard or whatever, you've got to have an idea of how your part's going to fit in and what it's going to be, I guess.
Yeah. It's got to be. You got to have a musical idea of what you're going to do on the drums, but I always do the drums last because it's the most exciting part.
Yeah.
I think it's like I tease myself to make a track that I know that I'm gonna so desperately want to play drums on, and I tease myself until the point when the song's done. Then I'm like, right now on the drums,
Yeah.
Kind of a reward.
Yeah, sure. So when you're writing, do you write with a totally like an open mind, or are you thinking this song's going to be in 9/16 or this is going to be in whatever, or does it just take its own shape and that's how it ends up, or do you have ideas of that?
It just takes its own shape. Funny enough, I don't really think about time signatures. I just kind of feel the feeling of things.
Sure.
Some people say, "Oh, you play stuff in you play a lot of stuff in 7 and you make a lot of songs in 7," but I really don't. I actually it's a mix match. Like there's 6/8, there's 7/8, there's some in 9, there's some. But I don't want to be the guy that just makes loads of things that are like 9/16 and stuff. Like I've always made 4/4 stuff, and especially my 4th album, there's a lot of 4/4. But people hear it differently, and that's what's amazing about these drumless songs that I make. They're not to just noodle about. They're like for actual songs that you guys can play. That like I was that kid that was wanting to play a Dave Weckl backing track when I was a kid. But no one had access to it because it was just on their DVD or you see these amazing drummers like, or Simon Phillips was like, he played all these amazing protocol songs, and I was like, man, I want to play to stuff like that, but like no one could have access to it. So I just decided to do something to make my own songs, and people started liking that. So I was like, that's the magic that you guys could bring. Like the drummer gets to be a vocalist, you know?
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I like that. Yeah, it's cool. And I guess the thing is, you know, there's no drums on there. I guess it's kind of down to the individual what they put over it. It can be as basic or as complex as you like. I guess. Do you get drummers sending you them playing your tracks in, or dropping you, you know, messages? Look, this is me playing whatever it might be.
Yeah, I do get. I do get every day. I think it's like every day there's like hundreds of people just tagging like, I'm playing this, and this is me playing 7 to the power 6, or playing Gaia, or playing, you know, City, or playing I'm 5 albums up, so there's probably about 90 songs out there, like but it's amazing to see. Like it's really nice to see. And on YouTube, like, you know, it's insane, like there's like tens of thousands of people playing all my songs, and I'm like, it's amazing though. It's a nice compliment, isn't it? I think. Yeah. No, it's nice. It's nice to have someone, like, even if it, like, for me, I take it with such warm, like, compliment that, you know, a 4-year-old kid can play and he's having the time of his life listening to his music. And, you know, I remember there's a guy who messaged me, like, there were people that were going through like mental depression, and then they listen to my music, and then they're like, man, I just feel like listening to your music and I feel so much better. Like, they don't even play drums, they just I just feel good about it. And there's like a person who played drums, but he was in the military, and, you know, he lost a limb, you know, he lost his leg, and he said that I played, the moment I heard your stuff, I started playing drums and made no excuses to know that I could still play with my hi-hat. Amazing. You know, he's amputated. And I was like, man, that's so uplifting. Like, that inspired me, because it's like people are, you know, playing without, like, the music has made an impact. Yeah, sure. And it's less about the drumming, and that's I think it's just being musical and being able to, I use a lot of emotion in my music, because you know, I try to tell stories with what's going on in my songs, and because I was never the guy who wrote lyrics, you know, I wasn't the guy who was like, when I was a, you know, boy, I was like, no, I can't really write lyrics like that, but I could write melodies to sing them to someone to enhance an emotion, and I think that's what I was just fortunate to be able to communicate, and you know, it's some sort of language. Sure. Well, it's certainly working, because, as you say, it's all over YouTube, and you know, that can't be a bad thing, can it? You know, as you say, giving drummers an outlet who perhaps want to play you want to get the teeth into something a bit more tricky, let's say, because you can make it as tricky as you want, as I've seen you do many times. It doesn't have to be tricky, but I mean, it's about like, you know, again, it's the emotion. You could feel like one day you play this way, and then the next day you play like this, but it's all about feeling. And I always say my songs are not about right and wrong. It's about what makes you feel good about it. And that's, I say that a lot to a lot of people who send me stuff. They go, Kaz, you know, was this right? And I'm like, it can be whatever you want it to be. I know it sounds a bit like Disney. You can be whatever you want it to be. Like, if it sounds right, it's right. Yeah. If it sounds right, it's right. If you know it's wrong, then it's wrong. You know? But you have the voice, and like I said, we said this earlier, the whole point of me doing this is for you to be the vocalist. Because we need to start telling these karaoke bars that they need to start getting drum kits out. Drumeo. you know.
Yeah. I don't know how popular that would be unless you had a whole room full of drummers, but who knows? But well, they actually did. I don't know if you did you see at the UK drum show? I think it was about it would have been in 2019. I think you were there actually. Yes, I don't think you were playing, but were you doing something for Zildjian or Tama or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, Zildjian experience. Yeah, Zildjian Q&A thing. Yeah.
Because they did a Drumeo thing there, where they had a drum kit and you could sit in with the resident band, and it was quite cool actually. Could catch on.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I mean, it's so cool seeing these little things. I mean, especially for like drum shows, that would definitely work. But yeah, I mean, doing it in a real life situation, maybe not.
No, yeah, not that popular. Back in December, you did the Seth Meyers show, albeit remotely, didn't you? How was that?
Yeah. Oh man, it was insane. You know, Eric, the producer of the show, he's a really good friend of mine. We're bagel buddies.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so you know, we love our bagels. So
what's not to love?
Eric is, you know, he's been meaning to get me over to do the show, and you know, Fred Armisen, who plays the drums, usually, you know, he's a great actor, great comedian, and you know, I've had a few chats with him because he was actually in London here doing some stuff during the pandemic. Yeah, he just asked, like, I think it was on my birthday, Eric messaged me and went, all right, we're going to do this, because I was supposed to do it the year before, but it was just like some sort of visa thing, because I had like a specific, there's a lot of paperwork. I think similar thing happened with Ash Sohn as well.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic, we had to do it remotely, which made it easier for them to have us here.
Yeah, of course.
So we just filmed it. I filmed it here in my studio, and it was fun. Like, and it was amazing because last time I did Seth Meyers was in 2014 for Jessie Ware.
Right. Okay.
And I was playing for her.
Yes.
And this time it was like, you know, and you know, I remember Seth holding her album, and this time he held my album. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy! And it's like, and all my friends were like calling and going, "Oh my god, you on Seth Meyers, man!" And so I was like, it's just surreal. And like I said, it's all thanks to like Eric, and you know, he's such a drum fanatic because he's a drummer himself.
Yeah,
and we're looking into like, you know, when I go there for real, you know, just going into the studio, because I always look past the Rockefeller building, and you know, because when we play with Josh, he has a residency at Radio City, which is a phenomenal. We played one show there and that was it. Like, but we're supposed to do more.
Yeah, of course.
The pandemic hit, but we always do something there, because there's like the Today Show, and like we always do that, and like the Today Show is like super early. It's like you got to be at there for like 4 o'clock in the morning, awake at 2 a.m. It's like, it's a nightmare. And then your green room is like the world's tiniest room. It's this massive building, and you're in this tiny ass room. It's like,
so it's not all glamorous then.
Oh no! Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But you're in this room with like the whole team, like Josh's production, Josh's management, the PA, the PR, like and the whole band. Like I'm tall, but the rest of the band are super tall. Like they're like American sized.
Yeah.
You know, my musical director Tarek is like 6 foot, like 6 or 6'7".
Right.
And like. Same with like Mark Stevens, who plays keys, and he also plays with Shaka Khan as well. And he's like, you know, these giants, and we're all in this little room, like sitting there eating donuts, going, "It's too early." It's like,
that is seriously early. 4 a.m. You're not supposed to play music. Oh
no, not that early.
Unless it's carrying on from the night before. That's okay.
I know. I just remember waking up super tired, and it's like we're sound checking at 5:30, and then my drum tech niece was like, "Kaz, we're just going to test your kit for you, just make sure it's all right," and it is 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, "Poof, gack," and I'm like, "Nah, it's too early." I need more coffee.
I bet you slotted in just fine though once the adrenaline kicked in.
We got I think like 2 like Americanos later. Yeah, we were full throttle. Yeah,
Got some fuel on board.
oh yeah.
So do you know, all is pretty good at the moment. It's going in the right direction for you, isn't it?
It's going all right. You know, there have been changes. You know, there were changes for everybody, and like I say, like I'm just really happy about the continuous creation. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just creating.
Sure.
Not going to stop. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, look, Kaz, I know you're busy, so I'm going to let you get on with your work. Thanks for doing this. It's good to see you again, mate, and I really appreciate your time. And hopefully we can get you back up here to do another show at some point in the not too distant future.
My pleasure.
Top man.
Pleasure, and thank you so much.
Pleasure, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Kaz. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.